Hi, folks. Welcome to Art 105. This is a completely online asynchronous class, and I'll be your instructor. My name's Raven Moffett. Um, I have a master's in fine arts from University of Arizona, where I focused mostly on photo, video, and imaging, but I also do ceramics, and many of my works come in the form of installation. Um, I have a background as a beader, and I recently learned how to felt. So I do a little bit of all different mediums. Um, I also have taught as an art history teacher for about 5 years for Pima now. I've also taught for Appalachian State University and University of Arizona, where I am both a professor and finishing my PhD in American Indian Studies. So that's a little bit about me. A lot of my research and life intersects with non-human animals, especially dogs. So um, there will oftentimes be some updates and some information about dogs coming from me. But I also have uh, 5 chickens, 4 quail. I keep some mice, and my partner and I keep some bugs. The layman's term. We have a vinegaroon and some death feigning beetles. I am not based in Tucson right now. I'm based in Scappoose, Oregon. So, I know many of you might be accessing this course not based in Tucson. Um, just a heads up, because PCC is based in Pima County, a lot of my resources center Pima County, but I recognize because this is an online asynchronous class and I'm teaching remote, you may be anywhere in the world, really. So it's going to be your job to tailor some of our class activities to your local art scene and what's accessible to you. So let's get into that. I'm going to take you on a little tour of our D2L and of our syllabus, and it's very important that you watch this. I'm going to try to really keep it brief, um, because historically there has been I'll say I'll say about a year ago, Pima changed how they were doing their syllabus, and now it's very nicely embedded within our D2L courses, but it requires an extra level of approval that sometimes just takes a while to go through and means that students don't have access to it. This is my third time teaching, no, my fourth time teaching with this new syllabus tool. It has only gone through once without a hitch. More consistently, I have everything and I can see the syllabus, but you cannot, for like the first couple of days, which isn't great, right? You want to be able to decide whether you want to keep the course or not. So it's extremely critical that you watch this video and pay attention to what's happening on the screen and email me if you have any questions, or are having trouble accessing things, because that syllabus might, experience a late release. Let's hope everything goes off completely without a hitch, but just historically, there's been a little bit of a delay there. So if you're new to D2L, you'll open up your D2L. You'll have your courses listed. This is Art 31066, Art 105. The landing page is where I'll be doing weekly announcements, sometimes more than one a week, but I always make sure I give a weekly announcement and really pay attention to that because instead of doing mass emails, I've noticed that students are less attentive to emails and more attentive to course pages. So if I have something important about a due date, about class content, and especially about feedback for an assignment that would help folks moving forward, I always post it on the class announcements. And so you really need to pay attention to those. Also, this will be less of a issue for your semester, but if I'm ever out of office, so I actually just came back from a conference in Saskatoon, I made my students aware of my travel. Hey, hey, what? Sorry, I don't know if you heard that. My dogs are behind me. Anyway, hey, 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 stop, stop. He doesn't want that. Thank you. Um, I if ever I'm traveling or out of office, I do still check my email, but I always try to make students aware of that in case there's a little bit of a delay, in my responses. That's why. Come on, bud. And so I'll post things like that on the announcements. And that's where you're going to find this welcome video. It will be embedded in a hyperlink. Right now I have, that's not, obviously, we're not getting so meta. This is an older one. But that'll be there. There's a little bit about me right here. And the most important thing is this is my email. If you want to contact me, email me using my Pima email. However, it is really important that you email me using your Pima email. And the main reason is because my Pima email very often automatically takes non-university affiliated emails. So, like if you emailed me on your personal Gmail, this would happen and routes them to my spam folder. So I check my spam folder frequently because this happens often. That's not to say I can't miss something, right? So, because that's my number one way to contact me, I'm very responsive to it. I'm checking it multiple times a day. The best way to get through to me is to email me at my Pima email from your Pima email. Okay. Um, Another really great thing on this landing page is a librarian, Sandra Lay. She's here to help you. There are research components to this course, so she's here to help you with that. Um, and then we've got some quick links too. One thing I do want to pull out here is the D2L support. So if ever you are experiencing a technical difficulty, like you can't log into D2L, I had a student this past class who was having this bizarre thing happen with her quizzes where she would open her quizzes and it would automatically time out. And that is not something that I can control. That was something that was happening on her end and for her alone, right? If it's happening to everyone, I'll make an announcement on the announcement and say there's something wrong with the course page. That's something I will solve. But if you are having an individualized experience with D2L, you can't upload something, something's not loading. Um, you could, of course, should email me to let me know that's happening, but the way that you'll resolve that is through D2L support. Um, Great. So, the class, I try to make it as straightforward as possible. It's kind of step by step. The first places you would go are either to our content welcome module or to our syllabus. I'm going to take you to our syllabus first because I think that's the most important part of this welcome video because there have been some little hiccups. So you can see it's loading. Um, this is our course. We don't meet. It's totally online, asynchronous. All you'll see from me is these little videos to help navigate the space. We do start on July 5th and we end August 8th. Those are firm dates. And they're really important for y'all to keep with because this is a 5-week class. So if you fall behind at all, there is really very little forgiveness. And if you start to feel like you're slipping, please pay attention to the drop refund audit time frame, which is the 13th of July, or the student withdrawal, which is the 27th of July. And if you are not where you want to be in the class, I really recommend you do a refund, do a drop, or do a withdrawal because it's so much better for your overall GPA to have tried a course, recognize this maybe isn't the best time, leave it of your own volition, and then come back and get an improved grade rather than to take a grade that you're not going to be proud of. This class is offered every semester, multiple modalities. I know that because I have taught at all different Pima campuses in person, and now I teach primarily online. And there are multiple offerings every semester of this course online, so it's a very accessible one. If you're not where you want to be, if you're not getting the content that you want from this class, just try another time. I don't say that as with my chest for all of these classes because a 16 week is pretty regular and the workload is very manageable. But for these 5 weeks, it is a lot and you need to come prepared. It's not very forgiving. And that's not even just me. That's just the nature of a 5-week class. So another thing I really want to make sure everyone's aware of, it is online asynchronous, meaning we don't meet in person. Everything is digital. D2L is your place to find everything. But that doesn't mean we don't have deadlines. I have weekly, if things due weekly, you will have many assignments due weekly because you're enrolled in a 5-week class, but we're supposed to cover content equivalent to that of a 16-week, which means everything gets very compressed. All right. Again, my email, email me frequently ahead of time. I'm very responsive. I'm flexible as long as you are communicating with me. If I get communication about something after the fact, much less likely I'll be able or willing to help, right? Because part of it is D2L sometimes won't let me reopen things after the deadline has passed. And the other part of it is it's a 5-week course. So I need to honor my boundaries and we need to honor the syllabus together, right? So, um, however, if we're emailing and there's, something going on that you really want to talk through and email's just not doing it, um, I'm very available by Zoom. So this is the Zoom link I'll send you, but you need to email me and say, I would like to Zoom. Here are some dates and times that I would be available, and we will set up a time. Um, Sometimes this has happened many times. I've been emailing with a student and something is not meshing with our communication. At that point, I will say to you, we need to meet via Zoom to get this fixed because the email communication isn't working and you need support. So we need to try a different method. So, um, great. This is some course information just about gen eds. I'm gonna just hit on the really critical parts, but I do expect that you all will read through this entirely. Again, this is a 3 credit course, 5 week. That means you're doing approximately 27 hours of work a week to meet that total 3 credit hour needed time. Um, the biggest things you'll need for this class are a laptop or a computer with Wi-Fi and strong, consistent internet connection because everything is through D2L. But there is a creative component where you will need to you'll be doing a self-portrait. So you will need to think ahead about what art materials you want to use, notebook paper, drawing paper, and then of course you'll need a camera to take a picture of that assignment and upload it. And then the other really critical thing is there are 2 to 3, depending upon how you take some of my assignment instructions, assignments that require you to go out into your local community and look at art. You need to go to a museum for this class, and then an art performance or gallery, which is slightly different, and then you need to look at public art. Um, in Pima, it's very easy to do that using public transportation or just walking. Sorry, in Tucson or Pima County. If you live somewhere else, it might be even more accessible. I think about, like if you are living in New York or someplace on the East Coast where everything's very close together. If you were living where I'm living in Scappoose, you would really need to coordinate rides. I live in kind of a rural community. There is some local art, but there is not a museum here. So you need to look at that schedule of due dates and plan ahead and organize your ride and also research the museums that you want to go to and make sure you're going there during open hours and you're prepared to pay admission if the institution takes admission. So I really want to make sure we're attentive to that. These are some other materials you could use for your self-portrait. Again, I have a resource for D2L or Brightspace help. No textbooks for this class. Read the outcomes in your own time. This is how to determine your grade. So I have some little quizzes. Every week you do at least one quiz. That's how I take attendance. There's 12 of them, 20 points each. So you can see how that kind of breaks down. We have 3 discussion posts throughout the semester. Those are 60 points each. And then we have these 2 kind of bigger assignments, the museum field trip assignment and then the self-portrait. And then there's a final assessment that will open towards the end. It's like 5 questions. It's very easy, but great way to make some extra points. Along those lines, there are some other smaller assignments going to a smaller gallery or an art event. The first things you'll have to do are the course contract quiz, which is basically one question saying, have you read the syllabus and do you agree to it? If you do, you get 5 points, you stay in the class. If you don't, you not only lose 5 points, but you're eligible to get booted from the class automatically because you haven't agreed to the stipulations of the syllabus. So, and then an introduction. I have a complete schedule of work set up and I'll show you that in a second. Here are some key dates. I already went over them. The biggest ones are the drop, refund audit, and the withdrawal. I'm going to email you back in a timely manner again, if I don't see your email, then I can't respond to it. So if something's happening, there's a breakdown there, feel free to email me again. If you need an extension, you need to email me before the due date and suggest a new due date for yourself. So I'm putting that accountability on y'all. As I already said, the quizzes are the way that I take attendance, so you need to stay on top of that. Like I said, resources posted in this class are tailored to the Tucson area, but if you don't live there, that's great. You can go to a different gallery or a different museum, or if you're traveling just for the week, take the opportunity and see some new art. But email me ahead of time with the name of the institution you want to go to and what assignment you want that to work for, because sometimes I've had students in the past get a little bit confused and think that maybe like a children's museum or a science museum would count for the museum field trip assignment. And it's, they can if they have something special going on, but we need to focus on the visual arts, right? So we want to be looking at art museums. So just email me if you have any questions, and email me if you're going to um, a space that's not listed in my pre-approved. I'm more than happy to support that. Let's just make sure that you don't waste your time going to a space that's not going to work, right? Okay. I do allow AI to be used as a drafting tool or an editing tool. So you do the bulk of the work, but let's say you're having a really hard time kind of like thinking about what an assignment would look like, paragraph by paragraph. You could use AI to kind of like help give you an outline and then you could write it. Or you could write something and then you could use AI to help you edit it. Make sure you have good grammar, good spelling. But if you use it, you need to cite it as a source in APA or MLA. I am a stickler for that because if you're in higher ed and you're doing research and you're not using correct citations, you can be docked for plagiarism and you can be, kicked out of institutions or decredited if that's a problem. So that's why I'm such a stickler about it. I'll say that up front. Um, some more, this is kind of university wide, so I'm going to go just skip over it. Um, if you stop attending, if you stop submitting quizzes, I can't mark you present. You will get automated emails from PIMA's uh, attendance system saying you might be dropped, and then that is beyond me. That's an automated email, and that's a PIMA community college policy. So the ways you can solve that are either by attending class, emailing me with the dean's excuse to let me know why you weren't able to attend, or withdrawing yourself. Simply logging into D2L does not count as participation. You have to actively be submitting assignments, working through the course. Here are some resources and policies. This is my department head, Mariana. She's amazing. She does have a lot going on, and the summer is particularly busy. So if you are trying to get in contact with her, just have a little grace in terms of the response time. So that's our syllabus. I'm going to take us back to this little content tab up here. Here's where you'll start. You'll go to the welcome module. You'll go to read me first. This is reiterating some key parts of the course, and I expect that you read this. And then once you're done, so we'll scroll to the bottom, you're done, then you can click this very useful button, and it will take you to the next part in the welcome module, which is a direct PDF link. That way, for myself as a student and as an instructor, I can read things so much easier when they're printed out on paper. So this is a link to our syllabus as a PDF that you could print out and read. And then our schedule of work, which is critical. So the first two things that are due the second day of class are the course contract and an icebreaker introduction. So not heavy content at all, just making sure you guys are staying on top of submitting your assignments. And then due dates will largely be on Sunday. Does not mean that I expect you all to be working on Sunday. It means that I give you a full week to do that, and things are due at the end of the week, which is Sunday, right? So July 13th, you'll have two quizzes due. You'll have some information opening. So these are not due dates. You can see they're due later. Then you'll also have our first discussion post and our chapter 3 quiz. So you're going to be responsible for completing module 1 and module 2 within basically the first week of class. That is a lot, but that is the only way for us to fit everything in. Um, and that kind of follows suit. The next week, you'll be responsible for module 3 and 4. Um, I did try to give you a little bit more leniency for some of these bigger assignments, the museum field trip and um, the museum field trip and the hands-on self-portrait. They are uh I don't have them all due just at the end of class. They are a little bit kind of sprinkled throughout, and that's pacing for you all to make sure that I can help give you a priority of, okay, first I need to work on this hands-on self-portrait because it's due August 3rd, and then I can focus more attention to my museum field trip August 2nd. But having said that, I would not wait until the 3rd to look at your museum field trip. I would have, by August, have gone to the museum that you want to write your museum field trip assignment about, have taken good notes, and then just between the 3rd and the 7th, then you're just writing your response, right? Because it's going to be a lot if you need to go to the museum, take pictures, reflect, write, edit. That's a several step process. And that's why these assignments are due at the end of class. It is designed so that you would be working throughout the semester on it. Um, but so you can see, I tried to kind of have more content up front, and then slowly kind of wean down because you have these heavier assignments due, if that makes sense. If there's ever confusion or discrepancy, just email me. Um, I do have an extra credit component. It's a discussion post where you would watch an Art 21 video. I love Art 21. When I teach in person, I always have that just kind of going in the background if it's a studio class. Um, so that's just a great resource. It's this online repository of videos that look at contemporary artists and their work and does videos with them. And it's artists all over the world, all different mediums, all different themes. So you can really pick whichever is speaking to you. And so you would just watch that video, then you would write a little reflection about it, and then respond to one of your classmates. That's going to be another critical part of these discussion posts is you will post your content and you will be expected to respond to a classmate as well. That's how I foster class camaraderie and get people to engage in dialogue, even in a completely online um, format. So, and then just keep returning to the schedule of work. But once you review that, then you can um, go here to this about me if you want to learn more about me. And then I have a couple of other resources. I'm not going to walk you through all of them. I'm hoping that you're kind of understanding how to go through the content here now. After you learn about me, there's a lot of resources about scholarly sources, tips and tricks for writing success. Some of the resources are made by PCC. This is made by me, and it's very tailored to the students that I have worked with in the past and what I see them struggling with. Just so you know, because I teach in multiple departments, I've taught a studio art history, but then also within AIS, so Native Studies, which means I've taught traditional ecological knowledge, I've taught film and literature from a Native perspective. Right now, I'm teaching a class on the urban experience for Native folks. So that one's like very broad. The examples that I use are from American Indian Studies in this. So if you're like, I don't know Lucy Tapahanzo, that's okay. You can Google. But these are just examples, right? Um, and something else that I'm a stickler about is using grammatically correct ways to punctuate titles of things. So just give this a little look. And the last thing, we're coming to an end for this first video. Um, just a couple more things that I want to draw your attention to. So as you scroll down this welcome module, I also have some specific resources for um, being a student, an online student, particularly if that's new to you. I very much recommend looking at this. Uh, Please also it's very difficult for me to open HEIC files, and that's the file that if you have an iPhone, it just automatically creates if you haven't changed your settings. Please submit to me using JPEGs, PDFs, or Word. Like those are pretty universal and pretty easy for me to open. Um, then I have some links through Pima Arts. If you are based out of Tucson or will be in the Tucson area at some point during this class, I highly recommend that you check out our facilities, especially the Louis Carlo Bernal Gallery. Um, some of these links are old, right? So 2020, 2021. They are old because these were created during COVID when we were in lockdown and people couldn't physically always be on campus. So they're a great way to kind of peruse, get an idea of what might be there, and do your own research before going in person. But I am expecting people to go in person. Again, if you're not in the Tucson area, that means you got to find your own spaces, and that's great. I have grading rubrics, assignment guidelines. Please look at those. All of your tips for success, everything you need to do to be successful are in these assignment guidelines. Then I have the similar thing for discussions, just making sure you get all the points that I'm asking you to get, and reminding you to reply to a classmate. And then lastly, your course contract quiz, which will be due very soon. And that's a similar format for how all these modules will go. So that was our welcome module. Our second module is module 1, where you actually get into the content of the course. You'll read and click through this. There's some reading, some videos, and then as you scroll down on that page, you'll see things that are due, your icebreaker introduction, your quizzes. And then I have the bigger assignments under module 1, and then again when they're due in like module 8. And that's just to make sure that you're really seeing them multiple times. So I think that's it. Please email me. And I'm looking forward to this class. All right.